Hey everyone. I have a very special guest for horrornews.net. With me is writer, director, producer, actor. Is there anything he cannot do? Hello, Hilton. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm here. I am the creator of Zombie with a Shotgun. We're getting into the holidays, so which is kind of like that whole thing I always tell everybody from like November 15th to January 15th, everything gets shut down. But yeah, I'm here. And yeah, anything you can let me know, ask me anything. And yeah, I'm ready.
So tell us a little bit about what's going on right now, because I know you have several amazing projects in the works. What can you tell us?
Yes. So I started a couple months ago on a Patreon page. So everything has happened. Like everybody knows, the whole COVID has affected everybody. There's so many things that delayed everything, and I would tell you, like, right before COVID happened, I was in discussion with a lot of people to go and do the sequel for Zombie Shotgun Part Two. It was very exciting because I had like, I think it was almost I mean, like 2 to 3 times I was having a meeting on a weekly basis on trying to get this Zombie with Shotgun Part Two out. And COVID happened, and then boom, everyone went their different ways, and everyone just got fearful of just feared for just investing. And I think that's what happens, that people were just afraid of just putting their money in projects. And I think affected, it's very sad though, I have to really say, because it definitely affected all independent artists, such as ourselves. Just like, yeah, things got back to normal, and it's sort of kind of like, all right, things got back to normal, but the independent artist is struggling so much right now, because it's like, yeah, okay, everybody else could get back what they were doing because they were sort of like in the system, in the program, or whatever they were in, but independent artists was not. We were so dependent on, you know working on, small projects, working with investors that always came around. And now people just, hey, you probably experienced it, where a lot of people just moved out of the state. And so the whole during the whole COVID, everyone had to like kind of reinvent themselves. And I think everyone took a back step and try to, like, um reassess, what they're doing in their lives as artists. And such as myself, I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do now that, that first couple months, it was like such a panic time for everybody. So there was a lot of like projects that I was working on before, that everyone has that projects they worked on that never finished or completed. And one of them I had, I think I mentioned it to you before, when you had interviewed me, was a project called 6666, which was sh- um, it was an episodic series that I actually started, and it actually went on, Eli Roth's website, which is under the Crypt TV umbrella. And then when that went, when it decided to go much more larger, I had these episodes that no one's ever seen. So during the whole COVID, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should go back and do 3 to 4 episodes and try to put everything in an anthology, my own anthology
Mhm.
film with 8 episodes, and release it as a feature. And at the same time, there was other projects that I had that I was like finding, like, oh my God, I just remember I worked on this documentary, and maybe I should take it out and, go back and release it. So I started releasing these projects that I worked on like 15 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago. And I just started working with them, and just releasing them, and just showing the work that I've done in the past years. And of course, 666 was one of them. And I eventually finished, we did the 3 episodes, and we did 4 actually. And we're thinking about just putting 3 in. And now we have the project is completely done. Now we're waiting for music and the mix, and we're going to release it. But there's always that one thing that's been. And then also, I also worked on a short horror vampire film called Klans Rules, and that was really a fun project. We did that last year at this time, and that was a really nice, cool project. It was interesting because during that time, no, it was so hard to find actors, and I was able to find it. in here in New York City. And it was a really cool project. It was fun. And yeah, the question kept on coming where many of the fans kept on asking me, what are we going to do with Zombie with a Shotgun Part 2? So while I'm working on 6666, getting it out and working on other projects as I'm, working on some two scripts I'm working on, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to try to raise money in a different way. So I opened Patreon a couple months ago and say, okay, this is for short, I'm going to work. If people want the sequel is I'm with a Shotgun and also like me to work on other content, to support my Patreon page. So it's been going pretty good. I've gotten a lot of support, and it was so interesting because it was sort of like, I would say so many people came out that I haven't heard, because when we released Zombie with Shotgun Part 1, it was in November 28th, 4 months prior to the whole country shutting down. And when I started the Patreon page, I've got so many emails coming, people supporting me saying, oh my God, I loved your first film. I'm a very big supporter. I'm so happy you're doing this. And, so it was really interesting that having that Patreon page brought out so many people that I haven't heard in 2 years just come out of nowhere to support me. So that's basically where, where I come, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to see how, when, where, when, how I'm going to do this sequel. And at the same time, going back to whole reinventing myself, I got into doing my whole YouTube page and starting going to, surfacing other new social media outlets to try to bring more fans and everything. And if COVID never happened, I would have never been doing these like things, like example, like going to YouTube, doing YouTube videos and everything like that. And it's pretty fun. And I have to say, it's a whole different sort of avenue of me exploring these things. And it's working, where I'm getting these new fans and people are starting to be more interested in certain other things that I do besides horror, films. And so that's where I'm at. And the next thing that I'm going to do is probably open like a really fully Indiegogo or one of the other campaigns to open up for a campaign for Zombie with Shotgun Part 2, because I really think that it's time, and I think next year, maybe later on the end of the year, we can shoot the sequel.
Definitely think Zombie with a Shotgun 2 would be great. And I know over time it has a massive fan following too on social media. How does that kind of make you feel?
That's sometimes I kind of like it definitely feels good. It feels good that having it's an indie project, of course. It's an independent film. And then so there's times that I start to think to myself and I start to say that, it's pretty amazing that, there's this independent world out there that support independent artists. And I think they all understand where I come from and everything like that. And I think they support the fact that I never let it go. And I think it's a big inspiration for so many other, whatever you are, young, old filmmakers that's just starting out, and to see that, hey, this guy started, the first web series was 10 years ago, the first episode, and people know that and they realize that and they say, hey, look, this guy keeps on going and this guy is doing it. We can do it. And I'm that, to me, is, and I get that a lot. I get a lot of DMs that people hit me up and they say, hey, just I don't know if you remember me, but I was one of your first followers years ago. And I do remember a lot. And it's just weird that you got so many fans and you remember them. And I'm like, sure I do. I remember we had a conversation years. So, and I like it a lot, because of that. You get to interact with other artists and indie artists that understand that. And in by me talking to them, I definitely feel in the conversation that I have on DM that they really feel like, oh wow, I can do this. So it is pretty cool. And I don't think there's any other indie, and you know, again, I may be wrong, but I've been, you know, doing it for a while. I don't think there's no any other indie film on like my Twitter account that as large as the fan base that I have.
I think it's amazing. And the fact that you are so interactive with everyone and everyone gets so excited just talking about the movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I get every single day, you know, you get these, you know, these messages, you get tweets, and even actually today, I got one today that was really cool. Somebody hit me up on Twitter and said that I just saw your film. I wish I did it. It was so amazing. And I was like, wow, you know that, you know, so you know, you just like, you know, it's you know, you appreciate that, and you definitely, you know, you feel good that you made somebody enjoy your project and everything like that. So and you know, again, that's why I think, you know, I felt like, okay, because during the whole COVID, I kind of felt like, oh man, you know, the the energy, because when, like, again, when I released it 4 months prior to that, it was like almost on a weekly basis that it was, you know, I was getting interviews, getting people was hitting me up, what are you doing to the sequel, we can come in, can we help? So many actors everywhere saying, you're doing the sequel, I want to be in it, blah 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 blah. And then that whole thing happened, and I felt like it was over. I felt like that whole synergy of, you know, around the whole film was just ended just like that. And I felt like, I don't think it was just you know, a wrong timing. And but again, it was just big support from the amazing, you know, the fan base was so amazing that they were able to like say, no, you know, we're with you, we want this. And you know, and I think I might have told you that I think that that a lot of people are tired of what we're seeing now, you know. And look, to each is their own what we have out there, but now, you know, we starting to see things that are so like so redundant, right? With the whole sort of like, you know, the Marvel film comics. We see so many times of it. You know, again, I don't got nothing against it, you know, but I think people want to see something different, something whatever, and have like, you know, and that's where I say a lot of independent artists suffer so much, because there was that voice that we were giving out there, and it seems like we're hurting so much. And I think that a lot of people feel that and say, hey, you know, like, let's go support this. And you know, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to, like, you know, like I really feel confident that we'll be shooting this by the end of next year and have it out. And you know, just to have that support of independent film and horror, and you know, another installment of the film.
What can you tell us about Klans rules? Because I did get to watch it and it's on Tubi and streaming, I believe, on other.
Yeah, it's in a, you know, with the distribution that I put it in, it's like every week they'll hit me up saying, oh, you're a film stream. I keep on forgetting, like so many other streaming services that it's on. Tubi, was my main goal to get into, because Tubi is like it's very popular. And it's you know, they you know, if you want to go by like who's getting paid more, Tubi is actually giving more money than everybody. But so I was, you know, very happy that I got into Tubi and all sorts of streaming services. And I think like Roku, you could go in. I'm not even sure like so many, but Tubi's like the main ones. And I also brought it into my whole YouTube channel, which again, I'm trying to get that into a new sort of like, you know, once I get that monetized, that'll be like my new home where I'm gonna start to get my projects on and everything. But Klans Rules was an interesting story. um, and and again, I think I might have told you the story also. And now that we're doing a Zoom, you know, let the audience know what I like told you. And again, about 20 years ago, I wrote a script about a Ku Klux Klan and a against a black vampire clan, and there was a battle between the two. And you know, we're talking about 20 years ago, right? So the interesting thing is, I wrote this script. It was a feature, and 20 years ago, that script, you know, was sort of like, I wouldn't say unconventional. It was not. No one wanted to touch that. That was something like, oh, I don't know, we're going to go there and everything like that. And it was, to me, I felt like it was ahead of its time. It was very touchy, you know, the whole subject matter. And so about a year ago, a friend was talking to me about putting some vampire project together. And boom, I remembered. I said, oh man, when I was in college, I wrote this script, and it's so funny because I have a friend to this day. We speak maybe once every 6 months, and every time we talk, he always brings up the script. Why did you never do that script? Why did you never? And I was like, it's funny because I finally told him, look, I did a short film, loosely based on the script. So I just remembered and I said, hey, 20 years ago, I wrote this script, about, and he's like, oh man, you need to do that. And I was like, I can't really do it because the script had to shorten it up and everything. So I started thinking about it. I was like, wow, times has changed 20 years. Like now that story would be so like relevant now than 20 years ago. Probably I would got probably heat for it. No, don't do that, whatever. So yeah, we went on to do it. It was I called on favors from people and such as like Faison. Faison came on, that was my first guy I thought of when I said Black vampire film. I was like, Faison, I gotta call him. And he was the first guy I called, and he was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So, from there, and then we just, domino effect started just coming, trying to get the whole thing. And I only saw Faison as doing it. I couldn't figure anybody else that this is the guy that needs to do it. So when we finished, we finally completed the film and released it out. You wouldn't believe how many people hit me up saying you should do a whole web series on Klans rules. And I said, dude, that would be so amazing, And we this was, again, we did this in November of last year, which was really hard because we were still in the whole COVID thing.
Mhm.
And absolutely, I would love to do it, but I don't have to tell you, it's all about money. Who's going to finance the whole project. But even just 2 days ago, I had somebody told me, hey, where can I catch the series? And I'm like, no, I wish it was a series. I'm like, I don't have a series. And they were like, oh man, that would have been so cool. I was like, yeah, it definitely would work for a series. Absolutely. I totally agree. It's a piece that actually is desperately, calling for a series. Who knows down the line, and again, I would love to. But you know how it is. It's just, again, talking about how, getting people to fork up money now is it's tricky.
Yeah, I loved Faison in that movie, by the way, in Klans Rules. It's such a powerful movie, and there's indeed a message in there. Did you kind of intentionally do that, or was that just the way it was flowing when you were writing?
Yeah, basically, yeah, it was more like you said. It just came all along from the writing. So when go back to my whole my script in sorry, when I was in college,
Mhm.
it was, like I said, loosely based on it. It was a story and what had happened. And it's okay. I'll tell you what I had on the original script. The original script basically happened to be that the Ku Klux Klan, the leader, and the Black Vampire Clan actually worked together at the end, and they did a sort of like a cahoots together to make sure that they would still have this sort of fight to continue, because they needed it, because they needed to like recruit people and everything. And that was like the powerful thing at the very end of the script. How was I going to do that in this short film? I did it where, okay, I could still do it. It wasn't, because, again, it was a whole script. And I did it, of course, with the love interest. There was a love interest also in the script, but it was more of it was more it was more of a bigger, larger scale where there was a crime. There was among the whole thing, trying to figure out who did it. But yeah, so I put, like I said, I put those little elements and put it in there, and it is sort of, like I said, loosely based on that script. And from me writing it out, that's how it came out, and I was very happy with the end result.
You wrote another short film. We talked about this briefly before, called Therapy
Yes.
for 9/11, and I did not get to watch that yet, but I want to watch it. What can you tell us about that film? Because from what I've seen so far, it looks incredible and obviously a beautiful tribute to 9/11.
Yes. Very, very. like many of the shorts that I've created in past years, I think that film probably has one of the most special places in my heart. And I have to say, because, during that whole time, we were all affected by it. And I wanted to do something like to express my feelings to it, express, just to get something out of my system about what happened in 9/11. And so when I wrote the script, there was this, there's a story on, when I casted the film too. There was this actor, because because I'm from the Lower East Side, and there's a actor that's in charge of the schooling down the Lower East Side, who's part of this whole Latin community, who started this whole sort of like movement for helping and representing Latin actors coming up along the system and everything. He was like one of the first, like, sort of like, forerunners of this whole system before this whole thing that was going on right now. And him and we got to know each other because we were in the arts and the art world, and plus where I worked, he used to come by where I work, and we used to always chat. And he was at that time, unfortunately, there's not a lot of Latin faces that we see on big cinema, television, and on the big screen in the movie theater. And there was a film that he did with Harrison Ford, and he finally had this big scene in the film with Harrison Ford, and it was such like a big thing in the Latin community. Like, oh my God, this guy, he did this amazing scene, and I was so proud that I knew him. I was like, oh my God, it's such amazing to see him on the screen, and he did other kind of like other Hollywood films, and you would see him there and the glimpses there, and pieces in there, but that was the big moment when he was in Harrison Ford. He had this huge scene in the movie. Unfortunately, Harrison Ford kills him during the film, but anyway, so. Sorry. So him and I started talking. I said, hey, I want to write this film. I want to write a short film. One day I want you to be in the film. So finally, I got him to do it. And it was such a big thing for me because he was this, again, this Latin actor, helped so many Latin people, and he's done it, and was doing such a great thing with the calls for it. And it was about this woman who his love of his life was killed in 9/11, and he was haunted by the phone call that he had missed, that she wanted to tell him that she loved him and that she was trapped in one of the buildings. And throughout the film, he has this sort of like nightmarish sort of thing recurring in his mind, that he forgot this phone call. And during this whole therapy session he was in, trying to get him out of it, he starts to find somebody that he fell for, and he found the friend. And those two people saw in him that he was in trouble, that he was this guy that was able to slip through the cracks and may never come back from the loss of his love life. And these two people actually pull him out of it in a way that you have to watch the ending to see how they did it. And it was the ending was just to me was to this day I watch it, gives me goosebumps. It was a beautiful ending. And I tell you what, we screened this film in Tribeca, which is like eerily, like it was very eerily, because 3 or 4 blocks was the World Trade, and we screened it, and it was like about 30 films, and it was all different types of films, not all 9/11, and I was the only film that had a standing ovation. And I think a lot of people felt that, even during that time, of how they felt, because it was still fresh in people's minds. So that was a film during COVID that, I shot that. I am so sorry, I don't remember the year, maybe 2007, 2008. I'm not even sure, maybe earlier. And then when I was going through my storage, I found it. I'm like, oh my God, how come I never like released this film? So I went, gave it to my editor. I said, hey, look, let's fix these things that needs to be clean, and let's clean some of the spots, like tweak it a little bit. We tweaked it, we released it. Now it's like a streaming services. And also you can check, I put it on my YouTube channel. So when I started going through the film, I released it, I wanted to reach out to the actors. And unfortunately, the lead actor passed away. And I was so upset that I was never informed or told about it. But his memory lives in this film. And yeah, yeah. So I mean, definitely anybody gets a chance. It's definitely as a drama piece, and it has yeah, it's a really cool piece.
Very sorry to hear that, but I think that everything happening now, I think people kind of need support, and this movie kind of is giving support to people, kind of.
Yeah, I agree.
What would you want to say to fellow directors, actors, writers, producers? Because you've done everything and you're so talented. What would you kind of want to say to everyone, like words of wisdom or advice?
My words, my words of wisdom would, it's sort of like I would say simple, but yet, in a way that you know, I definitely feel that, um I always tell people, look, man, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I've went out there, and once you believe in something, like, you take a film, a project, an idea, just an idea, and you believe in it so much, and that's what it's all about, believing in a project. And once you believe in that project and you gather the pieces around it, such as like the crew, the cast, and anybody else, they start to see that you believe in it. And having you believe in your own project, they start to believe in around it. And I just let people know that, just like very cliche is to say, it's just never let nobody tell you that you can't do it, because you can. And especially now, when I started, it was film. There was no digital video. I sound like an old man, right? So yeah, now these days, you're shooting your phone, you could do anything you can do. Just if you have an idea, it could be told. And I just encourage the people, again, whatever age you are, doesn't matter, young, old, and you have an idea, you just believe in it and do it. And yeah, it's just just it's very easy to be discouraged, especially now, the times that we live in. Very easy. And it's also easy for people to feel bad. And you know so many people online, social media, they love to put people down. I spoke to somebody one day, talked to me at the project, saying, oh, I don't think my project is good. I have all people criticize. I say, hey, look, that comes with the territory. Like, even my project, I get destroyed in so many projects that I've done. It doesn't really matter. It's just, if you believe in it, you love it, and you have other people that there enjoy. That's what matters. Just don't listen to nobody, and just go full force.
I think you have projects out. You're putting this stuff out. You have Zombie with a Shotgun out, all these films. And two things for my rambling here. You said you can shoot a movie with your phone or a camera. I know I talk to people sometimes, and sometimes they say, no, you shouldn't use your phone. But I think with like content creators and filmmakers, and I think if you are able to use your phone, do you think that kind of is like okay?
It's a good question. I would say, okay, excuse me again. I would say, if you're going to start off as like your first project and everything like that, you practice on the phone, because obviously you can have 10 people, right? Let's say you have 10 people and
Mhm.
they all have the same phone. Some people can make that phone look like that, shoot something that's like, holy shit, did you really shoot that? And there's some people that don't even know how to use it. And that's because they learned it. Learn how to shoot on the phone to make it look like, look, they shoot in 1080 right now, right? It's the highest you can get. Some of the phones quality is better than the cameras that are out there right now. So again, that's what I would suggest, to go out and learn the phone, like especially the new phones, like the 12 and the 13 came out as iPhone. I know that the Android also, the highest one, they're also really good in quality. And you learn it. There's tips to go online to learn how to, lighting and all that stuff. But I would say learn it. First learn it. And look, I know, I've seen it online. They compare a beginning scene of a film from another film. You can't tell the difference from a phone and everything. Yeah, but when you look at the production value that's in some of those things, is amazing. It's like almost like a whole Hollywood crew on it shooting on the phone. So that's what I would suggest. I would suggest start learning. If you have like no choice, you're like, oh man, I only got this phone.
Mhm.
Start learning it. But if you do have choice and you could find somebody that has a camera that knows how to use it, then take that person, your friend, and let him shoot the project. But if you have no choice, just start learning your phone. And it's always good to have that DP or that camera guy that has a phone and he'll be able to shoot it. But you got to learn it first. Learn it, see how the quality looks. And my opinion, and I think, well, it's not really my opinion, everyone knows, it's just going to get better. What we're going to see in 5 years, the phone. That's amazing. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's not a bad idea to do it.
Technology is always advancing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the other part of my ramble was, I think at least if you put a project out, I mean, I know like as a writer and reviewing films, like I don't watch a film simply just to go, oh my God, I can't wait to find out what's wrong with the film. I think as long as you're putting a project out there and you have something like happening and you're doing something, and I don't know if that makes sense, but I just think you're taking a chance and you've done that. So pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that goes back what I say with, like, that person I was talking to, like, oh, people criticize my stuff and everything. I said, listen, this is going to come with the territory, you know? Um, Here's the thing, if I don't suggest to go out and shoot your first three projects on the phone and then go to like somewhere and hopefully someone's going to sign you or anything like that. Hey, you just never know. Things do happen weirdly. But I agree with you. I think going out there, doing something better than doing nothing. That's how I took what you were saying. Doing something better than doing nothing. Because that's the only way, filmmaking is all trial and error. I mean, every director that you read on, they always say that they learn something on every single project they do. And I would agree with that. I would definitely, in all the projects I do, I learned something so new. And I think that when people start a project, I think also very most important thing to me that I felt that I always kind of leave out, kind of bad that I leave it out. I don't do it by purpose, but I think having that partner with you in crime is always something. You always should have that one person or two people that you always working with. And I always have, every film, I always have that person that I lean on. It's usually the DP or, the assistant, the producer. You always got to have that one or two guys, because it's so hard to do something, literally by yourself and everything. And you have that support system and able to help you create a project. That's really important. So like somebody that wants to start out, try to find somebody that's on the same page as you that's going to help you out.
Well, Zombie with a Shotgun and Klans Rules are both beautifully shot films. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. The guys that came on, they did a hell of a job. Absolutely. They did.
How do you kind of feel about Zombie with a Shotgun and the way it sort of blew up and went in all different directions? And I've heard people talking about they want comic books and the series. And what do you want to do with everything, and especially with your Patreon page?
It's, that is so true, and I'm happy that you said that because you get that a lot. There's so many things that's going on with zombie, because we had the web series, then we had the comic, and of course we had the feature, and then you had like that little animation in the film that people say, "Ooh, maybe he's coming out with animation." Everyone's going crazy. So there was so many things going so many different places, and just trying to figure out, and a lot of times, even the film, just trying to get people to be happy and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work or whatever like that. So me testing out the water, the waters out there and all those things that was going out there, um, I got to find out the true fans that I really have. And one of the things going towards Zombie with a Shotgun 2 that I will be exploring a much more as the gore. A lot of there was no gore in Zombie Shotgun Part 1. And a lot of people were very disappointed about that, especially the fact that, they were like, oh, they felt like it was like a sort of like a hobo with a shotgun kind of feel, shoot 'em up kind of film. It wasn't even close to that. There was some elements of that, but it was more of a, sort of the origins, sort of a story, a love story and everything like that. And, that was sort of my interpretation that I wanted to do. And I didn't want to just go out there and just do this kind of like redundant, sort of like generic, here comes a zombie, let's run away from him. I wanted to do everything totally, and it wasn't like intentional that I wanted to do that. It was just my story. There was no such thing as let's run away from the zombies and let's just kill them and hide. It was a totally different sort of like, story than all the zombie films that we see. And I think that also disappointed a lot of people. And I would have to say, I won't even lie to you, I think it disappointed some of the fans, maybe a lot of fans. So going to the sequel, I did talk to a lot of fans, and I did promise them that the one element that I will explore much more is we're gonna have much more of a shoot 'em up kind of like zombie film. So then, you'll have the two pieces. You have part one, we have the story and sort of like, people could enjoy that. And the second one we will have where, okay, we're now going to see the zombie with the shotgun in the whole most majority in the film go at it with people. And that's where the whole angle, where should I go here? Should I go there? And that's where we're going to go with, and will there be more comic books? More probably will. I mean, I think once the film starts rolling in production, everything, I think that's when I probably started to figure out what's going to go with the whole comic book kind of thing. And the animation too, that's, Robin Steele that came in to do the animation with his wife. That's another thing that people from the very beginning, even I myself, when me and Robin, who created it, it came out such a kick-ass thing. And again, that all comes down to, the whole Robin was responsible to MTV's Liquid Television stick theater TV. And that's how I found them, because I was looking for an animated. And I'm like, wait a minute, I remember one of my favorite pieces was the Liquid TV. And I'm so lucky I found them. Everything fell, it was amazing how that happened. So when everything was done, I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if we did like an episodic, like maybe, I don't know, 20, 22 minutes, 25 minutes of this zombie with a shotgun sort of stick figure kind of, series. And we just always talked about it. So that would be so amazing. So many cool things to do with it. Again, always comes down to money. Hey, you never know, And yeah, that's another thing that a lot of people always say, oh man, you should do it. I said, yeah, it would be pretty cool. Let's see what happens with the sequel. When the sequel comes out, many other things could happen. But I'm really excited about it, again, because it's gonna be, um, and that's another thing I tell the fans that we will start off part two the way part one ended.
Mhm.
So he will be zombified and with his shotgun and ready to go. And I think people are really excited about that.
What can you talk about, like a little bit about filming a zombie with a shotgun? Because I know you did mention you filmed in New York, and what can you tell us?
Yeah, that was also an exciting thing, because there's not too many zombie films shot in New York City. Of
Mhm.
course, zombie that was shot in where you had the World Trade Center in the background. That was like beautiful. You can't get more New York than that. And after that, there was not a lot of zombie films that was shot in New York, and so that was exciting. And that happens to be because I'm from New York City, and I'm really happy when I look at the film. That's really I get really smiles in my face because a lot of the places that we shot is like in my backyard. We shot it in Chinatown. We shot in Lower East Side, Alphabet City. Um, yeah, and that's right where my domain is. So it's pretty cool that I was able to get that sort of New York City kind of like zombie vibe kind of film going in it. So, and of course with my drone guy who literally, did an amazing job shooting out, New York City and Brooklyn and everything like that. It was such a cool thing, to have that. And, that was the last sort of choice. We were going to shoot it in LA, and the last minute I pulled out of going to LA. And I just said, you know what, I just think having New York City as a character in the backdrop would be, to me would be much more valuable than going to LA, because I just felt like this was my home. And I also, one of the key reasons why I felt like if we would run out of money, which we did, that I would be much more easier to get a favor from somebody here, because I'm from New York City. I knew I could just call somebody in LA. I wouldn't be able to do that. So and it happened. It happened that there was so many things. I would have to call actors. I would have to call other camera guys and equipment. I'm like, hey, dude, I need you to come down here. Please help me. And they would come, and that would never happen in LA. So that was a really good last thing that I did. But having it in New York City was pretty cool. I mean, again, it's not a lot of zombie films or you see in LA. You see it shot in New York, and the way we did sort of like a shoot and run kind of thing, where a lot of the places we did not have permits, and we just went with it.
I like that too, that you say New York is kind of like a character in the movie, because I always think about that when you're watching a movie like Houses or like the apartment in Rosemary's Baby. It kind of becomes such a character in the film. And that's kind of what I think about New York. I think about Zombie with a Shotgun. So I think that's a beautiful concept.
Yes, absolutely. I think it worked out very well, and having like sort of like that New York sort of like dark kind of like noir feel of it really helped with the film.
Do you have anyone that kind of inspired you professionally, I guess, with filmmaking?
There's as in like film directors out there. I mean, I would say that I would take there's so many directors out there. You take pieces of gems that they did and created and came back, and just very, very, much like I said, like every director has a gem. And I don't think there's any particular like one director, but I do like there's so many of them, yeah, I mean, right. Today, I could tell you, really Scott definitely was, one of my favorite directors, which is a lot of people's favorite director. I watched his work over and over, and so those kind of like films. One particular film I love of his is Legend. And that's one project that a lot of people don't even talk about. And I just love the whole sort of like fairy tale kind of look and feel of Legend. And I wonder if people don't talk about it because not a lot of people like Tom Cruise, but it's a film that people don't realize that Tom Cruise is in the film. But it's one piece that I really, being young and looking at it, just really, just love. I just love the film, man. And Cronenberg also, amazing. Dead Zone, one of my favorite films, and of course, video. Sorry. Yeah, Cronenberg is one of my, also my favorite guys out there. And, yeah, so many different pieces out there. Like I said, from the John Carpenters of the world and everything like that. There's always like those gems that each director has. Like, oh man, you could take that from there, you take that from them. But yeah, I mean, you just go down the list.
What's next for you? What projects are you currently working on? If you can share.
So obviously, everything is going into streaming, right? As in, people are more, and you probably seen this and witnessed this from yourself. Independent filmmakers are starting more going into television series, creating concepts with television series. So I'm working with somebody creating a sort of like a thriller slash with horror in it concept to go out there and pitch it out and see, how it goes, how it works. It'll be, again, of course, of a New York City based story. And I'm also working on another project, horror slash has a little bit of a sci-fi element to it, and that's a feature piece. And that's one other project I'm working on. But yeah, those two projects, and again, there's so many, there's so many like television series going on, and it just seems like a lot of people, it's just that's where people are aiming their whole their whole strengths in, that everyone's aiming for that, like, oh, the next Stranger Things or the next sort of like, any of these television series. So that's I think, as me being a filmmaker, I have no choice. So I think that's where I would have to go, because you just never know when you get to that moment when somebody always, everyone always says, hey, you got a script I could read? Now you're starting to hear people say, hey, do you have a concept for a television series? So for me being a filmmaker, I think I have to have the responsibility to have that in my back pocket, ready to give to somebody just in case.
Do you have any kind of idea of what you're going to do, like maybe with Zombie with Shotgun or something with Klans rules, or
As in, like, after, like, I mean, I would love like Klans Rules. It would be really cool, to do that definitely as a series. But also it would be cool to do a feature also on it. I mean, I wouldn't even mind to do a feature on it. That would be freaking awesome. And it's interesting to talk about comics. A guy approached me on trying to figure out how to do a comic book on it, and I thought that was a really good idea. Um, but there's so many things that you want to do. Like, damn, I don't, you could just focus on certain things you can do. But that would be awesome. But I can definitely see down the line that Klans Rules will come alive with one of those two things. I really believe that. Just the fact that so many people had such a positive reaction to it. Like, oh man. And a lot of the things that people, one of the, like, the first thing that I started hearing right off the bat, people said, oh man, I wanted more. I wish there was more to it. And then you started hearing it more and more. And with Zombie with a Shotgun, after the sequel, you start to decide to yourself, how much more can you go with Zombie? How much more life is there as Zombie? It's just it's amazing, because I would tell you, and I think I told you this before, in a million years, I would never think that me doing a zombie web series would get me so popular and get me doing so many other things and doing and everything. But you always got to go for the third one. You always got to go three parts. That's it. And then just end it and see whatever happens from there. You always got to give it three. And, if anybody wants to rehash it, bring it back, television series, whatever, I'm all with it. But I think three would be the charm, and that's it. I think we end it from there. But first things first, right? Let's get the sequel going and then see what happens from there.
sounds epic. What can you tell us? Can you talk a little bit about your YouTube channel and kind of everything that's happening on your YouTube channel?
Yes. So so I decide, so many people has been telling me to go onto YouTube. Why don't you go to YouTube? Why don't you bring your projects on YouTube? Why don't you get monetized, start making money through YouTube? Been hearing for so many years to do it. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Yeah, during that time, my focus on so many other things than trying to figure that out. Us also independent artists, we also have, you know, we also have a job, right? So, doing that, juggling all that stuff. And again, it comes back to COVID. COVID was the main factor that, people telling me, I think it's time to do YouTube. So then, it took me time to figure out, to get in my head, like, all right, is that the right thing I should do? Should I release my projects in YouTube versus me having the streaming services, still getting money from, having it there? And I just started doing the research. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should start doing some short videos or short stuff like that. So I said, okay, pull the trigger, roll all many of my projects onto the platform for YouTube. And at the same time, I started saying, hey, I should be doing some cool things. I started doing, like looking around, what can I do? And I wrote down a list of like things that I should do as in videos and stuff like that. So one of my things was, and this is a funny thing everyone laughs about, decorating. So there's so many decorations, YouTube decorating and stuff like that, but there's not really like a guy that really kind of like does it, right? So I started off in October doing like decorating for Halloween, such as like pumpkins and pumpkin carving and everything like that. So I started doing pumpkin carving videos. Now I'm just released my, Christmas decorating, and I got a couple more videos on that. And as time goes by, I'm going to start releasing out more other like ideas that I want to do, like sort of like I want to talk about films that I really like. One of my next things I want to do is films that we've seen that we never realized that the actors who contribute so much that we just never looked at, and we need to appreciate that lost actor that no one ever talked about, like who was just such a most, had a very powerful impact in a film, but we overlooked it because of bigger actor names. And there's so many films that I look at that I see these actors that no one talks about. I'm like, dude, man, that guy killed it. And no one really cared about that guy. If that guy never had a performance such as that, this film would never be like that. So there's so many films like that that I see. And I said, that would be great to come and do a YouTube thing about them and talk about them and who they are and where they're from and where they're doing now, and what such an impact they had in myself and throughout the whole film. So that's what I'm starting to do. I'm starting to get these ideas, and as time going by, I'm building the brand more, and building up the channel more. And again, going back to the whole thing, just COVID and bringing that up. And now that I started all this, starting to see another new sort of stream of fans coming along, saying, oh, I enjoy this, I enjoy that. And then when you get to hear this is where you get like kind of like, like I got somebody that told me the other day, oh man, I love your YouTube channel. I didn't know you did movies. I just and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a first. And I was like, yeah, check out the films I have there on the channel and everything. So then you start to say, oh, that's how you're starting to get a different, form of fans coming in through the YouTube, and then starting to realize, oh, I didn't know you do films. Like, okay, all right. So that's a cool thing. And yeah, and also I'm starting to explore more, this is another funny thing. TikTok is a new social media outlet, out there, is really popular. And I started going into doing that, trying to get another fan base on that and just having fun with it, and I think that's a good lesson that we learned. And again, I don't want to like, keep talking about it, but as in COVID coming on to us, and us just, the suffering with these 2 years, but it also told us like, life is short, go out there, have fun, and spend time with your loved ones, right? Because that's what happened, right? We had to spend so much time home that we started to realize, wow, look at the things that we missed in life because we were such in our work 9 to 5 job and making ourselves doing things that, we just never realized to stop and just realize there's so much important things that we just forget. And one of them is living life. And I just think that that's where I'm at right now, that I just figured out like, hey, you know what? Just go out there, have fun, and just do what you love, and that's it. That's how I feel. And I feel like that now more than ever. And I think that's a good thing.
Do you think that you took anything positive away? I believe we talked about this before, but I want to ask kind of what your perspective is now with COVID, because I know it's horrible. COVID in general, everything's horrible, but there have been some people that have taken away some things creatively and by spending time with family or no matter what. Like, do you think you took anything positive away from it?
Yeah, I mean, as in like the good things of whatever the good things about COVID when it came in, as in like, yeah, I think just spending time with family. Um, it was like, I think we talked about that. I think when years from now, like 5 or 7 years from now, people are going to realize, wow, that unfortunately that happened, but that was the most time that I was able to spend with family or the loved one, or just being home and just seeing things in a different way. And I think I think everybody experienced that. And I think we see it through the numbers, right? Like, I don't want to talk about the whole, but people still not going to work, right? That's what they claim, right? And I think people not going to work because people like, I missed a lot. I missed life was going by me so fast because I was so freaking caught up in this other world of just work till I die. And I think that's what we're seeing, that people like, I'm gonna try to find a way where I can enjoy and be happy what I do. And I think that's where we at. And I think that also could have been a positive thing from this. That people realize, you know what, I want to be happy, and I want to be able to live life and enjoy it. And I think that was a really important learning lesson from this terrible thing that happened.
And being able to work from home and having things like Zoom
Yeah.
but I was on YouTube and I was looking at your Christmas video, and that is crazy. A 9-foot tree. It looks beautiful. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I just released that I think like 2 days ago, and I know, 9-foot tree. Yeah, I have I have so much Halloween decoration. I got so much Christmas decorations, and it's just so crazy. It's like, you know what? Let's put it up there. Let's make a video and let's just do it. So
And you're Hilton Ariel Ruiz on everything, on TikTok, on Twitter.
yes, it's yeah, my first, middle, and my last name on every social media, from Twitter to Instagram, from the TikTok, from the YouTube, and Zombie with a Shotgun also for everything. The only one that is Twitter, because Twitter does not allow more than, I think, 16 or 17 characters. So
Mhm.
Twitter is Zombie WA Shotgun. But even if you just search Zombie with a Shotgun, it will still come up. But yeah, everything Hilton Ariez Ruiz on all the other, for my Patreon page and everything like that.
Well, I'm looking forward to more of your work, and I thank you so, so much for taking the time to talk to me for horrornews.net.
Well, I thank you, and I appreciate it also.
Thank you, Hilton.